What's going on? This is Kareem from DJBooth.net, and I'm here in the lab to give you guys an in-depth review of the new Mixars Quattro 4-channel Serato DJ controller with MIDI controls. So before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know that you can get this and all your other DJ equipment right there from Reverb.com. For the Mixars Quattro, you can get it there for one of the best prices. So make sure you click on the link at the top of this video description so that way you know exactly where to get it and all of your options when you're getting all of your DJ equipment gear. So first off, let's just kick off the review, and this is the new 4-channel version of the originally released Mixars Duo. They do have some differences, but basically it's like a 4-channel version of one of my favorite 2-channel scratch mixers, the Mixars Duo, and then they bring 2 more channels into the fold with the Mixars Quattro, so it's really cool to see all of the MIDI controls on this mixer right on the face, so that way you can control a lot of things in Serato DJ that you can't usually control on a 4-channel flagship style mixer such as this one. This bad boy has these RBG backlit pads that can control things like your hot cues, your loops, or anything else that you user define here. You can also use them for your transport controls to play tracks offline without using this with any decks. And all 4 of your decks are DVS ready, so you can have 4 turntables, 4 CDJs, or whatever you guys want to use with the Mixars Quattro. It also has onboard beat effects, and it also has onboard filter style, color style effects here as well. So right off the bat, you have this super solid chassis. It's very, very heavy, very sturdy, very solid club installation type stuff here. There's nothing on the front face, so that makes it easy to install permanently in different clubs or different cases and whatever else have you without having to look at the front panel in order to plug and unplug different devices or make changes to any of the parameters of the mixer. Very, very solid, very sturdy, all metal posts underneath all of your knobs here, and everything just feels like it's made of really, really good quality, really durable, and definitely built for years and years of abuse. In order to set this up, all you have to do is plug in your USB cable to one of the 2 sound cards that you have here for Serato DJ. You have to have the latest edition of Serato DJ on your computer, so you go to the Serato DJ website, download that there. You can go over to the Mixars website to download the latest drivers and the latest firmware for the Mixars Quattro. The firmware updates will update things like the sounds of the internal effects unit and other updates that they'll be able to do along the lifeline of the mixer. Once you have everything set up, everything plugged into your computers, you'll be ready to go and ready to use this with the full Serato DJ Pro, which comes bundled with the Mixars Quattro. So let's head on over to the bench, put this on the table, and see exactly what we have, all of the ins and outs of the brand new Mixars Quattro. Alright, so let's take a quick look at the inputs and outputs of the Mixars Quattro. All the way to the left, you have your on-off switch. And then right below that, you have your AC connector. Then you have your return and send. As you can see, the return is at the top, the send is at the bottom here. Then you have your 4-channel inputs. You have line and phono level inputs for each. And each of your 4 channels also has a ground connector. And it also has a phono to line switch. The input that has the phono to line switch on each one of your channels is the input that you're going to use for Serato. Then you have your master and record RCA outputs along with your XLR output and another booth TRS output as well. Then all the way to the right you have your mic 1, which is a combo jack of XLR and TRS, and then you have your mic 2, which is pure TRS. Alright, so here it is, the Mixars Quattro 4-channel professional DJ mixer for Serato DJ. Right off the bat, we'll start at the bottom where you have your crossfader. This is one of my disappointments of the mixer. I was hoping that they were going to put in a high quality fader such as the Galileo fader that's found on the Mixars Duo. That would have been a really nice addition here, but instead we have a regular plain old alpha crossfader which has a rather long 1.5 millimeter cut-in distance, which is pretty big for those of us who's really trying to scratch, really serious about scratching. So you'll automatically want to have to change this for the
Mixars Galileo fader, or for a mini innovator or a full-size Innovator Pro, so that way you can get really scratch happy with the crossfader that's here. You do have crossfader adjustment curve control, but even at its sharpest setting, it still is a little bit muddy for a crossfader of this style of mixer if you're trying to scratch on it. You have your line faders, which are very more resistant than your crossfader. I would have loved to see if they put in mini faders or Galileo faders here as well, so that way we can have videos of DJs using 4 turntables, maybe 2 DJs, 4 turntables, 2 computers at the same time with the dual USBs, and just really sick crossfaders and line faders, so that way we could see some really cool routines on the Mixars Quattro. But as it stands, if you're going to use this to really cut it up, really scratch with line faders and crossfader, you're going to want to replace both of these for either the Galileo crossfaders or mini Innofaders or the Innovator Pro for the crossfader. You also have your up fader curve control here as well, but again, there's very stiff faders, so it's a little bit harder to pull off some of your scratches here, but this is all perfect for your regular normal mixing. Next up, you have your sampler volume control, which is actually looser than your line level faders, but it's all the way in the middle and it's labeled as sampler. In order to reverse your crossfader, you have these different switches, so you can change the side of the crossfader that your different channels reside on, and you also can make it through, so that way you don't use your crossfader at all. Next up, you have your cue section, which is your headphone buttons here, so that way you can easily cue up anything that you want, including your master. Next up, you have your filter knobs here, and these filter knobs will correspond to the different effect that you have pressed on the mixer in the middle. You have noise, filter, echo, and crush, and this is just like Pioneer DJ's own color effects. Next up, you have your booth volume knob and your master volume knob. All of your different master and your different channels have LED indicators, so you can see right where you are in the volume of your mix. You have low, mid, high, full band EQs along with gain knob at the top. All the way at the top, you have your input select controls, so this way you can change this from USB 1 or USB 2, which is your dual USB sound cards here on the side, or you can make it your line phono, or USB 2. All the way over to your channel 4, you have the option to make this your microphone 2, so that way you can run different effects through your microphone when you're using microphone 2. Microphone 1 has its own volume and tone adjust knobs all the way up here at the top, and microphone 1 you can use in on, off, or talk over mode. Next up, all the way at the bottom here, you have your crossfader curve, crossfader reverse, and up fader curve controls, along with your headphones mix, cue, or master, and your headphones volume control, and you have a split cue on off switch as well. All the way at the bottom here, you have your headphone outputs. You have both the bigger 1/4 inch and the smaller 1/8 inch jacks here. Next up, you have your effects. You have a quick display here which shows you your BPM and your beat time function, and you have an FX channel knob, so that way you can enact your effect on master, A, B, mic 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next up, you have your FX select. You can select filter, flanger, delay, echo, reverb, trans, pitch, L roll, R roll, noise, bit crush, gate, T delay, break, or your send and return that you have connected on the back. You have your FX on button, big oversized button at the bottom. You have a time knob to change the timing of your effect, and then you have a depth knob, so that way you can make your effect either more or less. Next, you have your tap or your auto BPM, and this does sync with your Serato DJ BPM automatically, so that's really good to have here. The effects, in my opinion, are not very good. I believe the Pioneer DJ and the Zone DJ mixers that are the 4-channel variety have better effects than what you can find here on the Mixars Quattro. They just sound better, they're a little more rich, and they just sound better all the way around. And I'm not really an effect DJ, but I am easily able to notice the difference between the effects that's here on the Mixars Quattro and the effects that's on the other competitors' mixers as well. and the effect that's on the other competitors' mixers. Is just very easy to discern the difference between the two, and you know that the mixer effects here on the Quattro is just not up to par, or not as good as what we have on the Pioneer or Allen and Heath offerings. Next up, we have the feature that everybody's been waiting for, and that is the MIDI controls. You have MIDI controls for deck 1 and 3 on the left, so that way you can use all of your different decks, or 2 and 4 on the right. And you have all 8 pads that will correspond to whatever deck that you're using at the time. You have your browse knob here, so you can browse to the different track that you want. Once you press the button in, or the knob in, you will just load up the track. You also have another encoder here at the top, which will start your auto loop. And when you press shift and start this loop, you will have a loop roll. Next up, you have your RGB backlit pads, and these can do things like your cues, your hot cues, so you have all 8 of your hot cues. You also have a shift and cue mode, which puts you into transport control mode, meaning you can use play, pause, cue, and this will actually be used for your pitch bending, so that way you can pitch up and pitch down in the track for your beat matching. You can use this without even having 4 decks, and that way you have internal decks here because you're allowed to use your transport controls as well. When you're in transport mode here, you still have access to your 4 hot cues here that will be at the top. Next up, you have your sampler mode, and then when you press shift in sampler mode, you have user banks, so that way you can make these into anything you want them to control within Serato DJ that is mappable. You also have your shift button here on the side and your sync button as well. These buttons are very, very responsive. The hot cues work just as they're supposed to, and they're just very nice to work with. They're rubbery and squishy. They don't have a center click to them, but they just sound very, very well, and they work very, very responsively and exactly how you would want them to on a mixer of this caliber.
In conclusion, the new Mixars Quattro is probably my favorite Serato DJ 4-channel DJ mixer because it's really the only time where you've seen all of these different MIDI buttons and MIDI controls right here on the face of a 4-channel DJ mixer for Serato DJ. It has really, really solid construction all the way around. It has a plethora of inputs and outputs, so no matter what you're connecting this to, your bases are covered. You also have the onboard filter effects and onboard beat effects, and all of the effects, including the Serato DJ effects, are post fader, line fader, and post crossfader. You also have dual USB ports for easy DJ changeovers, or for if you want 2 different DJs to play at the same time, because remember you can connect 4 different decks to this 4 DJ channel controller. So it's really easy to do cool tricks with 2 turntablists with maybe 4 turntables right here with the Mixars Quattro. You also have these really responsive, very nice RGB backlit pads that can control all of your different functions such as transport controls, cues, hot cues, and your sampler as well. It's really, really cool to use these features and buttons right here on the mixer. You can also use the MIDI controls to easily go and get your tracks, navigate through all your library, and all of your loops, and everything is controlled here right on board as well. On the downside, the Mixars Quattro has a really normal style crossfader. It's not really, really good for scratching. It has a rather long cut-in distance. It's not nearly as sharp as the Mixars Galileo fader. I wish they would have threw one in here. And I wish they would have threw in Galileo faders for the line faders as well. Because even though they have a curve adjustment here, they're very, very stiff, very scratchy, and they also don't have the same dead space cut in that you would want if you're going to be scratching. When I first saw this mixer, I figured it was going to be just like the Duo, and we were going to have that same cool crossfader in here that we have in here. That would have been really nice. We would have seen a lot of turntablists cutting it up. Maybe we've even seen some team style DJ play, because again, you can have 4 different turntables, and you have 2 different sound cards here, and you have 4 channels to play with. So if you're going to buy this and you're a scratch DJ, you're definitely going to want to change the crossfader and possibly the line faders with something like a mini Inno fader or the Galileo fader from Mixars. My other minor gripe with the unit is that the effects units on the Mixars Quattro is not as good as the competition. The Pioneer DJM series and the Zone Allen and Heath mixers all have much better sounding effects than what's here on board with the Mixars Quattro. And I'm not really an effects style DJ, but it's very noticeable that you can hear that the effects on this mixer aren't quite up to par to what you might expect from a Pioneer DJ club style mixer or an Allen and Heath zone style mixer as well. But for more on the full written review, you guys can head on over to www.djbooth.net/DJS. Make sure you guys hit the thumbs up if you like videos like this one. Make sure you guys subscribe so that way you know exactly when new videos like this are coming out in the very near future. And as always, thanks for watching.